Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the medical ship Healing Dawn, watching the stars drift past the main window. The ship moved through space at a steady pace, its white hull marked with bright red crosses that showed everyone it was. A medical vessel. For 3 years, Lisa had commanded this ship and its crew of doctors, nurses, and medical staff. They traveled from planet to planet, helping people who were hurt or sick. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Amy Turner sat at the communications desk, listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. She wore the blue uniform of the medical fleet, with her blonde hair tied back in a neat ponytail. Amy had been with the crew for 2 years and was good at her job. "Captain," Amy said, turning in her chair, "I'm getting a distress signal from the new Haven mining colony. They're asking for medical help." Lisa walked over to Amy's station. "What's their situation?" Amy pressed a few buttons, and the message played again. A man's voice came through the speakers, filled with panic and fear. "This is New Haven Colony calling any medical ships in the area. We've been hit by enemy fire. We have hundreds of injured people here. Our medical center is destroyed. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help right away." Lisa felt her heart sink. New Haven was a small mining colony with about 5,000 people. They dug minerals from the planet's surface and sent them to other worlds. The colony was far from any major trade routes, which meant it would take time for help to arrive. "How far are we from New Haven?" Lisa asked. Amy checked her computer. "About 6 hours at full speed, Captain." "Set course for New Haven immediately," Lisa ordered. "And send a message to let them know we're coming." The ship's pilot, a young man named Jake Miller, began changing their direction. Jake was only 25, but had been flying ships since he was 18. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he set their new course. Lisa pressed a button on her captain's chair. "Dr. Brooks, please report to the bridge." A few minutes later, Dr. Nathan Brooks walked onto the bridge. He was the ship's chief medical officer, a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. Nathan had been a doctor for 30 years and had seen many terrible things during his career. He wore the white coat of a medical officer over his blue uniform. "What's the situation, Captain?" Nathan asked. Lisa explained about the distress call from New Haven. Nathan listened carefully, his face growing more serious as she spoke. "Do we know what kind of injuries we're dealing with?" Nathan asked. "The message mentioned enemy fire," Lisa said. "That usually means burns, cuts, and broken bones. Maybe some radiation exposure if their power systems were damaged." Nathan nodded. "I'll prepare the medical bay and get the emergency supplies ready. We'll also need to set up temporary treatment areas in the cargo holds." "Good thinking," Lisa said. "How is our medical supply situation?" "We're well stocked," Nathan replied. "We just picked up supplies at the last space station. We should have enough for several hundred patients." Lisa felt a bit better knowing they were prepared. The Healing Dawn carried some of the most advanced medical equipment in the galaxy. They had surgery rooms, healing chambers, and machines that could treat almost any injury or illness. The ship was designed to be a floating hospital that could help people anywhere in space. Amy's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Captain, I'm picking up more signals from the area around New Haven. It looks like there are military ships nearby." Lisa frowned. "What kind of military ships?" "The signals are coming from Zephyrian Imperial Navy vessels," Amy said. "At least 3 ships, maybe more." Lisa's blood ran cold. The Zephyrian Empire had been expanding across the galaxy for the past 5 years, taking over planets and forcing people to follow their rules. They were known for being cruel and not caring about civilians who got in their way. "Are they still in the area?" Lisa asked. "It's hard to tell," Amy replied. "The signals are weak, but they seemed to be moving away from New Haven. Dr. Brooks looked worried. "Captain, if the Zephyrians attacked New Haven, the injuries could be much worse than we thought. Their weapons caused terrible burns and radiation. Poisoning." Lisa made her decision. "We're still going to help them. That's what we do. The Galactic Medical Convention protects medical ships like ours. Even the Zephyrians have signed that treaty." The Medical Convention was an agreement between all the major powers in the galaxy. It said that medical ships and hospitals could not be attacked during wars. Medical personnel were supposed to be safe so they could help injured people from both sides of any conflict. "Jake, how long until we reach New Haven?" Lisa asked. 5 hours and 40 minutes, Captain," Jake replied. "Amy, keep monitoring all radio frequencies. I want to know if there are any more Zephyrian ships in the area." "Yes, Captain." Lisa sat back in her captain's chair and thought about what they might find at New Haven. She had commanded the Healing Dawn through many dangerous situations, but something about this mission felt different. The Zephyrians had been getting more aggressive lately, and there were reports that they were ignoring some of the old treaties. Dr. Brooks headed back to the medical bay to prepare for the injured colonists. Lisa knew he would have everything ready by the time they arrived. Nathan was one of the best doctors she had ever worked with, and his team of nurses and medical assistants were all skilled professionals. The next few hours passed slowly. Lisa stayed on the bridge, watching the stars and thinking about the people on New Haven who were waiting for help. Amy continued to monitor radio signals, but she didn't pick up any more messages from either the colonists or the Zephyrian ships. As they got closer to New Haven, Lisa could see the planet growing larger on the main screen. It was a brown and gray world with no oceans, covered in mining operations and small settlements. Smoke was rising from several locations on the planet's surface. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm getting a weak signal from the planet. It sounds like the same person who sent the first distress call." The message was full of static, but they could still understand it. "Medical ship, this is New Haven Colony. Thank you for coming. We have the landing pad cleared for you. Please, hurry, we're losing people." Lisa felt the familiar determination that came with every rescue mission. No matter how dangerous the situation, she and her crew would do everything they could to save lives. That was their job, and it was the reason they had become medical officers in the first place. "Take us down, Jake," Lisa ordered. "Dr. Brooks, prepare for immediate casualty treatment as soon as we land." The Healing Dawn began its descent toward New Haven, carrying hope to the injured colonists below. Admiral Kethfer stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the human medical ship land on New Haven through the main viewing screen. The Zephyrian commander was tall and thin, with dark purple skin and yellow eyes that showed no emotion. His black uniform was decorated with the golden symbols of the Imperial Navy. "Admiral," said his communications officer, "the human ship has landed and is beginning medical operations on the planet." Kethfer's eyes narrowed. "Humans," he said with disgust. "They think they can interfere with our conquest by hiding behind their medical treaties." The Admiral had been ordered to take control of the New Haven system as part of the Empire's expansion plan. The mining colony produced valuable minerals that the Empire needed for its war machine. When the colonists had refused to surrender, Kethfer had ordered his ships to attack their settlements from orbit. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "the human ship is clearly marked as a medical vessel. The Galactic Medical Convention prevents us from attacking it." Kethfer turned to face his officer. "The convention is a human idea that makes our enemies weak. The Empire grows strong by showing no mercy to those who oppose us." On the planet below, the crew of the Healing Dawn worked frantically to save lives. Dr. Brooks and his medical team had set up emergency treatment areas near the landing pad. The colonists brought their injured friends and family members on stretchers and in their arms. Lisa Martinez watched from the ship's bridge as her crew performed miracles. She had seen Dr. Brooks save people who should have died from their injuries. The medical equipment on the Healing Dawn was some of the best in the galaxy, and her team knew how to use it. "Captain," Amy Turner called from her station, "I'm picking up movement from the Zephyrian ships. They're not leaving the system like we thought." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "How many ships?" "3 destroyers, Captain. They're moving closer to the planet." Lisa opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian fleet. "This is Captain Lisa Martinez of the medical vessel Healing Dawn. We are here under the protection of the Galactic Medical Convention to provide humanitarian aid to injured civilians. Please confirm that you will respect our medical status." For several minutes, there was no response. Then Admiral Kethfer's voice came through the speakers. "Human medical ship, you are interfering with Imperial Navy operations. Leave this system immediately." "Admiral, we cannot leave while there are injured people who need medical attention," Lisa replied. "The medical convention gives us the right to treat civilians in war zones." "The convention means nothing to the Empire," Kethfa said coldly. "You have 10 minutes to leave this system, or we will consider you an enemy vessel." Lisa could not believe what she was hearing. The medical convention had been respected by every major power in the galaxy for over a century. Even during the worst wars, medical ships had been allowed to help injured people without being attacked. "Amy, send a message to Earth Command," Lisa ordered. "Tell them about the situation here and that the Zephyrians are threatening to attack a medical vessel." Amy's fingers flew over her keyboard. "Message sent, Captain. But it will take hours for Earth to receive it." Down on the planet, Dr. Brooks was working on a young girl who had been badly burned in the attack. Her parents stood nearby, watching anxiously as the medical team used advanced healing machines to repair her damaged skin. "Doctor," said one of his nurses, "we're getting word that the Zephyrian ships are moving closer. Should we prepare to evacuate?" Dr. Brooks looked up from his patient. "We don't abandon injured people," he said firmly. "Keep working. We'll save as many as we can." On the flagship, Admiral Kethfer made his decision. "All ships, prepare to attack the human medical vessel. We will send a message to the galaxy that the Empire does not tolerate interference." His tactical officer looked shocked. "Sir, attacking. A medical ship will make us enemies of every civilized world in the galaxy." "The Empire will rule the galaxy," Kethvar replied. "It does not matter what other worlds think of us." The 3 Zephyrian destroyers moved into attack position around the planet. Their weapons began to charge, creating a low humming sound that could be heard throughout the ships. On the Healing Dawn, Amy detected the weapons charging. "Captain, they're preparing to fire." Lisa grabbed her communicator. "All medical teams prepare for emergency evacuation. We have incoming enemy fire," but there was no time. The Zephyrian ships opened fire simultaneously, sending powerful energy beams toward the Healing Dawn. The medical ship's weak shields could not protect it from military weapons. The first beam hit the ship's engine section, causing a massive explosion. The Healing Dawn shook violently, and lights flickered throughout the vessel. The second beam struck the medical bay, destroying several treatment rooms and the advanced healing equipment. "Hull breach on decks 3 and 4. Jake Miller shouted from his pilot station. "We're losing life support." Lisa was thrown from her captain's chair as another beam hit the ship. She got to her feet and saw that Amy was hurt, with blood running down her face from a cut on her forehead. "Amy, are you all right?" Lisa asked. "I'm okay, Captain," Amy replied, though she was clearly in pain. "But our communication systems are badly damaged." Down on the planet, Dr. Brooks watched in horror as the Healing Dawn was attacked. The medical ship that had been their lifeline was now burning and listing to one side. He could see pieces of the hull falling away from the damaged sections. Get everyone back to the emergency shelters, Dr. Brooks ordered his team. We need to protect the patients. The colonists who had been watching the rescue operation began to panic. They had hoped the medical ship would save their loved ones, but now it looked like everyone would die. Lessa knew her ship was dying. The engines were gone, and they were losing atmosphere fast. But she had one last chance to send a message to Earth. Amy, can you reach the emergency beacon? Amy checked her damaged equipment. I can try, Captain. But I'm not sure the signal will get through. Do it, Lisa ordered. Send everything we have about the attack. Include the Zephyrian ship identifications and Admiral Kethfor's name. Amy worked frantically with her broken communication system. Finally, she got a weak signal to activate the emergency beacon. The message went out into space, carrying the terrible news of the attack on the medical ship. But Amy did something else. She activated a special emergency frequency that most people had forgotten about. It was an old frequency from the time when humanity had fought in the Great War, 200 years ago. She didn't know if anyone would be listening, but she had to try. The signal traveled through space, carrying the story of the Healing Dawn's destruction. It told of how the Zephyrian Empire had attacked a medical ship that was trying to save injured civilians. The message included everything Amy could send before the communication system finally failed. Admiral Kethfor watched as the human medical ship burned. He felt satisfied that he had sent a strong message to anyone who might interfere with the Empire's expansion. Sir, said his communications officer, we detected the human ship sending some kind of emergency signal before we destroyed their communication system. Kethfor shrugged. It does not matter. By the time any help arrives, we will be gone, and the lesson will be learned. The 3 Zephyrian destroyers began to move away from New Haven, leaving the burning medical ship and the injured colonists behind. Admiral Kethfor believed he had won a great victory for the Empire, but the emergency signal was already racing through space, carrying news of the attack to places the Admiral had never heard of. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, ancient systems that had been sleeping for 2 centuries began to stir. The attack on the Healing Dawn would not go unanswered. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that had been hidden for 200 years, ancient computers began to wake up. The emergency signal from the Healing Dawn had reached Earth and activated systems that most people had forgotten existed. Admiral Kyle Harrison was eating breakfast in his office at Earth Strategic Defense Command when alarms began ringing throughout the building. The 60-year-old officer had been in charge of Earth's defenses for 10 years, but he had never heard these particular alarms before. What's happening? Kyle asked his assistant, Lieutenant Dan Foster, who came running into the office. Sir, we're getting emergency signals from the deep ocean facilities, Dan replied, looking confused. The old Titan project sites are coming online. Kyle's face went pale. He knew about the Titan project from classified history files, but he had never expected to see it activated. The Titan project was humanity's greatest secret, created during the Great War when Earth had fought against alien invaders 2 centuries ago. Get me a secure line to the President immediately, Kyle ordered, and activate the emergency command center. Minutes later, Kyle stood in the underground command center, watching as display screens showed activity at 3 locations in the Pacific Ocean. The screens had been dark for 200 years, but now they glowed with information about massive ships that were beginning to wake up. Sir, said Commander Beth Parker, the facility's operations officer, we're receiving the activation signal from the Titan A's. They're requesting permission to begin launch procedures. Kyle stared at the screens. According to the displays, 3 enormous battleships were hidden in underwater bases, each one 3 kilometers long and equipped with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The ships had been built during humanity's darkest hour, when alien invaders had threatened to destroy Earth. What triggered the activation? Kyle asked. Commander Parker checked her computer. The signal came from a medical ship called the Healing Dawn. It was attacked by Zephyrian Imperial Navy forces while providing medical aid to civilians. Kyle felt anger building in his chest. The attack on a medical ship was exactly the kind of situation the Titan Project had been designed to prevent. When humanity had won the Great War, they had hidden the Titan ships and promised never to use them again unless their people were threatened with extinction. "Sir," said Lieutenant Foster, "the President is on the secure line." Kyle picked up the red phone that connected him directly to the President of Earth. "Mr. President, we have a code black situation. The Titan Project has been activated." There was silence on the other end of the line. Finally, the President spoke. "Admiral, I thought the Titan Project was just a story." "No, sir, it's very real," Kyle replied. 3 battleships are preparing to launch from deep ocean bases. They were activated by an emergency signal from one of our medical ships that was attacked by the Zephyrian Empire. "Are our people safe?" "We don't know yet, sir. The signal was cut off after reporting the attack. But the Titan Haze are requesting permission to launch and respond to the threat." Kyle could hear the President talking to advisors in the background. After several minutes, the President came back on the line. "Admiral, what are the risks if we let these ships launch?" "The Titan battleships are the most powerful weapons humanity has ever built," Kyle explained. "If they launch, they will destroy the Zephyrian forces responsible for the attack. But they might also change the balance of power in the galaxy. And if we don't let them launch, then we're telling the galaxy that attacking our medical ships has no consequences. Other powers might decide to target our civilian vessels." The President was quiet for a long moment. "Do it, Admiral." "Authorize the launch." Kyle looked at Commander Parker and nodded. "Send the authorization code to the Titan A is." Deep beneath the ocean, the 3 Titan battleships received their orders. The ship's artificial intelligence systems, which had been dormant for 2 centuries, began their full activation sequences. The first ship was called Iron Thunder. It had been built in the orbital shipyards around Mars and was designed to break through enemy defenses. Its hull was made of materials that could withstand the heat of a star, and its weapons could punch holes through anything. The second ship was Stormbreaker. It specialized in fleet combat and carried hundreds of smaller fighter craft. Its shields were so strong that entire enemy fleets had once fired at it without causing any damage. The third ship was Void Stalker. It was the fastest of the 3 and was designed for deep space operations. Its sensors could detect enemy ships from light years away, and its weapons could strike targets across entire star systems. All 3 ships were controlled by an artificial intelligence called Atlas, which had been built by humanity's best scientists. During the Great War, Atlas had fought in dozens of battles and had never lost a single engagement. "Atlas," Kyle said, speaking into the communication system. "Can you hear me?" "I hear you, Admiral Harrison," came the reply. The voice was calm and professional, but Kyle could hear the power behind it. "I have analyzed the situation. The Zephyrian Empire has violated the medical convention by attacking the Healing Dawn. This action requires immediate response. What are your intentions, Atlas?" "I will deploy all 3 Titan battleships to the New Haven system. The Zephyrian forces responsible for the attack will be destroyed. The Empire will learn that humanity protects its medical personnel." Kyle felt both relief and worry. He was glad that help was coming for the crew of the Healing Dawn, but he knew that the Titan battleships would shock the galaxy with their power. "Atlas, try to limit civilian casualties," Kyle said. "Our fight is with the Zephyrian military, not their people." "Understood, Admiral. I will target only military vessels and installations. But I will make sure the message is clear. attacking human medical ships will have severe consequences. On the ocean surface, the water began to bubble and churn as the 3 underwater bases opened their massive doors. The Titan battleships had been sleeping on the ocean floor for 2 centuries, but they rose toward the surface like ancient sea monsters awakening from a long dream. The Iron Thunder broke the surface first, its enormous hull rising out of the water like a black mountain. The ship was covered in armor that gleamed in the sunlight, and its weapons were larger than most spaceships. Stormbreaker followed, its hull bristling with fighter bays and missile tubes. The ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small planet, and its shields glowed with energy as they came online. Finally, Void Stalker emerged from the depths. It was sleeker than the other 2 ships, built for speed and stealth. Its hull was covered in sensors that could detect enemy movements across vast distances. All 3 ships activated their engines and began to rise into the sky. Their drives bent space and time around them, allowing them to travel faster than any other ships in the galaxy. Kyle watched from the command center as the 3 battleships disappeared into space. He knew that in a few days, they would reach the New Haven system and face the Zephyrian forces that had attacked the Healing Dawn. "Commander Parker," Kyle said, "send a message to all human colonies and ships. Tell them that Earth is responding to the attack on the Healing Dawn. Tell them that we will not allow our medical personnel to be harmed." "Yes, sir." Kyle looked at the screens showing the ship's progress through space. The Titan battleships were humanity's greatest secret, but soon the entire galaxy would know that Earth had weapons that could challenge any force in the universe. The Zephyrian Empire had made a terrible mistake by attacking a medical ship. Now, they would learn why humanity had once been feared throughout the galaxy, and why they had chosen to hide their most powerful weapons rather than use them for conquest. The sleeping giants of humanity were awake, and they were angry. Captain Ryan Blake stood on the bridge of the Iron Thunder, watching the stars blur past as the massive battleship traveled through hyperspace. Ryan was 45 years old and had been training his whole life for this moment. His family had been guardians of the Titan project for 7 generations, passing down the knowledge and skills needed to command humanity's most powerful weapons. "Captain," said his first officer, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim, "we'll reach the New Haven system in 6 hours." Ryan nodded, his eyes fixed on the main display screen. The Iron Thunder was 3 kilometers long and carried enough weapons to destroy entire fleets. Its hull was scarred from battles fought 2 centuries ago, but its systems were more advanced than anything the current galaxy had seen. "Status report on the other ships," Ryan ordered. "Stormbreaker and Void Stalker are maintaining formation," Sarah replied. "Captain Stone reports that her fighter squadrons are ready for launch. Captain Johnson confirms that his long-range sensors are online and scanning for enemy forces." Ryan had trained with Emma Stone and Steve Johnson for 20 years. Emma commanded the Stormbreaker, a ship designed for massive fleet battles. Steve controlled the Void Stalker, which specialized in stealth operations and precision strikes. All 3 captains were descendants of the original Titan crews, and they had spent their lives preparing for the day when humanity would need its ancient guardians. On the Stormbreaker, Captain Emma Stone walked through the fighter bays, checking on her pilots. Emma was 38 years old, with short red hair and green eyes. She had been flying combat missions since she was 20, but she had never commanded a ship as powerful as the Stormbreaker. "How many fighters are we carrying?" Emma asked her Air Wing commander, Major Tom Wright. 250 fighters, Captain," Tom replied. "Each one is equipped with weapons that can destroy a normal battleship. We also have 50 bombers loaded with planet-killer missiles." Emma smiled grimly. The Stormbreaker's fighters were not like modern spacecraft. They were built with the same advanced technology as the Titan battleships. making them faster and more deadly than anything else in the galaxy. "Make sure the pilots understand," Emma said. "We're not just fighting for revenge. We're sending a message to the entire galaxy that humanity will not tolerate attacks on medical ships." On the Void Stalker, Captain Steve Johnson studied the sensor readings from the New Haven system. Steve was 42 years old and had been trained in intelligence operations since childhood. His ship was the fastest of the 3 Titans and carried the most advanced sensors in the galaxy. "What do you see out there?" asked his operations officer, Commander Lisa Chong. 3 Zephyrian destroyers still in the system," Steve replied. "They're celebrating their victory over the medical ship. They have no idea what's coming for them." Steve's sensors could detect ships from light years away, and his weapons could strike targets across entire star systems. The Void Stalker was designed to hunt down enemies and destroy them before they even knew they were being attacked. "Captain," Lisa said, "I'm detecting survivors on the planet. It looks like some of the medical crew from the Healing Dawn are still alive." Steve felt relief wash over him. The mission was not just about revenge. It was about protecting humanity's people. "Mark their location. We'll need to rescue them after we deal with the Zephyrian forces." The 3 Titan battleships had been humanity's greatest secret for 2 centuries. They had been built during the Great War, when alien invaders had threatened to destroy Earth. The ships were so powerful that they had turned the tide of the war. But their creators had realized that such weapons were too dangerous to use for conquest. After the war, humanity had hidden the Titan ships and chosen to become a peaceful civilization. They had focused on medicine, science, and exploration instead of military conquest. Most people in the galaxy saw humans as weak and peaceful, never suspecting that they possessed weapons that could challenge any force in the universe. But the attack on the Healing Dawn had awakened the sleeping giants. The Titan battleships were designed to respond to specific threats, and attacking a medical ship was exactly the kind of situation they had been programmed to handle. "All ships prepare to drop out of hyperspace," Ryan announced over the communication system. "We're about to show the galaxy what happens when you attack our medical personnel." The 3 battleships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the New Haven system. Their massive hulls appeared out of nowhere, dwarfing everything else in the area. The Iron Thunder was a black mountain of armor and weapons. The Stormbreaker bristled with fighter bays and missile tubes. The Void Stalker gleamed with sensor arrays and stealth technology. Atlas, the artificial intelligence that controlled all 3 ships, immediately began scanning the system. "I have located the Zephyrian forces," Atlas announced. 3 destroyers in orbit round New Haven. They are celebrating their attack on the medical ship. "Any survivors from the Healing Dawn?" Ryan asked. "Affirmative," Atlas replied. "Captain Martinez and several crew members are alive on the planet's surface. Dr. Brooks is treating injured colonists with limited medical supplies." Ryan felt anger building in his chest. The brave medical crew was still trying to save lives even after their ship had been destroyed. "Atlas, transmit our message to the Zephyrian fleet." "Message ready, Captain." Ryan's voice went out across the star system, reaching every ship and communication device in the area. "This is Captain Ryan Blake of the Earth battleship Iron Thunder. You have attacked a medical vessel operating under the protection of the Galactic Medical Convention. This is an act of war against humanity. You will surrender immediately or face the consequences." On the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Kethfar stared at the 3 enormous ships that had appeared in his system. His tactical officers were running scans, but their instruments could barely comprehend what they were seeing. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "these ships are enormous. Each one is 3 times the size of our largest battleship. I've never seen anything like them." Kethfar's yellow eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Humans are weak." They don't have ships like these. Admiral, said his communications officer, I'm detecting massive energy readings from all 3 ships. Their weapons are charging. Cathfer made a decision that would cost him everything. All ships, prepare to attack. We will not be intimidated by human tricks. The 3 Zephyrian destroyers began to charge their weapons, preparing to fire on the Titan battleships. They had no idea that they were about to face the most powerful weapons humanity had ever built. Ryan watched the enemy ships prepare to attack. They're not going to surrender, he said calmly. Then we'll show them why humanity was once feared throughout the galaxy. Emma added from the Stormbreaker. All ships, weapons free, Steve announced from the Void Stalker. Let's remind the galaxy that we protect our own. The 3 Titan battleships began to move into attack formation. Their weapon systems, which had been dormant for 2 centuries, came online with a sound like thunder. The ship's shields glowed with energy that could withstand the heat of a star. The battle for New Haven was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Cathfer stood on his command deck, watching the 3 massive human ships move into position. His yellow eyes showed no fear, only anger that these humans dared to challenge the might of the Zephyrian Empire. All ships, open fire. Cathfer commanded. The 3 Zephyrian destroyers unleashed their most powerful weapons. Energy beams that could destroy cities struck the human battleships. Missiles that could crack planets exploded against their hulls. The attack was so intense that it lit up the entire star system. When the light faded, the 3 Titan battleships were completely undamaged. Their shields had absorbed the entire attack without even flickering. The weapons that had destroyed. The healing dawn could not even scratch the ancient human vessels. Impossible, whispered Cathfer's tactical officer. Our weapons had no effect at all. On the Iron Thunder, Captain Ryan Blake watched the enemy attack with calm eyes. Atlas, return fire. Target their weapons and engines. Leave their communication. Systems intact so they can send word back to the Empire. Understood, Captain, Atlas replied. The Iron Thunder's main guns began to fire. Each weapon was as large as a normal spaceship, and when they fired, they created beams of energy that could cut through anything. The first beam struck the lead Zephyrian destroyer, slicing through its shields like they were made of paper. The destroyer's hull split apart as the beam cut through it from bow to stern. The ship's weapons exploded in chain reactions, and its engines went dead. Within seconds, the mighty warship was nothing but floating debris. One down, Ryan said quietly. On the Stormbreaker, Captain Emma Stone ordered her fighters to launch. 250 advanced fighters poured out of the battleship's bays, each one faster and more deadly than any fighter in the galaxy. They swarmed around the second Zephyrian destroyer like angry wasps. The destroyer's defensive guns tried to shoot down the fighters, but they were too fast and too small. The fighters' weapons, designed with 200-year-old technology, tore through the destroyer's armor with ease. Target their bridge, Emma ordered. I want them to surrender, not die. The fighters concentrated their fire on the destroyers. Command section. Within minutes, the ship's bridge was destroyed, and the vessel began to drift helplessly through space. 2 down, Emma reported. On the Void Stalker, Captain Steve Johnson had been watching the battle through his advanced sensors. His ship was positioned several thousand kilometers away, but his weapons could strike with perfect accuracy across that distance. Captain, said his operations officer, the 3rd destroyer is trying to escape. Steve smiled coldly. They should have thought of that before attacking a medical ship. The Void Stalker's main weapon was different from the others. Instead of energy beams, it fired projectiles that could travel faster than light. The projectiles struck the fleeing destroyer's engines, causing a massive explosion that left the loft. Ship dead in space. 3 down, Steve announced. The entire battle had lasted less than 5 minutes. 3 Zephyrian destroyers, ships that had terrorized dozens of star systems, had been destroyed.